Mr. Chairman, welcome back to the program. You were in Springfield the other day at Springfield, Illinois. Tell us why Illinois Republicans invited you.
Well, the House Democrats from the state of Texas went and they're hiding in Illinois, so they had a rally as part of their state fair. So they invited me to come speak and talk about what's happening in Texas, and I was very excited to go and attend with them.
Have you heard from any Republicans in this state, from the congressional delegation, or even from Illinois itself, from any Republicans who worry that what's happening in Texas could backfire on Republicans in Democratic states like Illinois?
I don't think so. We've had some conversation about that with some of the members from California. There was some concerns, but mostly all these states, Jason, if you look at the map, it's already been gerrymandered to a point that they can't do anything else anymore. They talk about it, but it's absolutely gerrymandered over the past 20 some years. And, Republicans haven't really done that. Especially in Texas, we've always been extra fair. In fact, way too much on the other side. So there's some conversation, but not really.
And last week on the program, we had a Republican member of Congress from California, Representative Kevin Kiley, on, and he wants to ban mid-decade redistricting for federal elections, suggesting this could create a problem for Republicans. I've heard Mike Lawler from New York and other congressmen, has his own legislation. Is there a subcurrent where people are concerned about this?
Well, one thing I would say is if you look at states that are some states are like 42, 45% Republicans have zero representation on the Republican side. If we want to go in any direction, that would be the right way to do it. Look at every state and say, okay, 45% of the population is Republican, then we should give 45% to Republicans, even though it's a blue state. Are the Democrat leadership willing to do that? I can promise you they're not gonna play game with that. So our goal now is not just to redistrict because it's 2026 coming. We had 2.5 million brand new people in the state of Texas since the last census, and we want to make sure everyone's represented properly. And with the Petaway versus Galveston, that became a reality for us.
We don't have new census numbers to know exactly where everybody is and whether whether these are voters, et cetera, eligible to vote, et cetera.
Well, unfortunately, in the census, you don't have to be eligible. So that's the way they've been doing this for years because there was a lawsuit against about that in the years ago, uh, over a century ago, I believe. And the ruling is if a person lives in that district, they should be counted for the representation part. No, they don't have to be a citizen or legal even.
Mid-decade redistricting is very rare. It doesn't happen very often anywhere. 2003 is the last time it happened here in this state.
Yeah.
President Trump clearly concerned, and his administration concerned that the Republicans might lose control of Congress. When you zoom out and look at this from afar and from a historical perspective, is this the right thing to do?
It is the right thing to do in state of Texas because, Jason, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about when I say Petaway versus Galveston,
Sure.
where County of Galveston was sued by Democrats and finally got a verdict that says you don't need coalition districts, which is what we have today. Jasmine Crockett has a coalition district. Julie Johnson in Dallas have a coalition district. It used to be that you were kind of required to do that. Now, not only you're not required to do it, it's kind of illegal. So, one race over the other shouldn't be less or more. So with this Voting Rights Act, that's what they basically said. The Black Americans and Hispanic Americans are less than white Americans, so they have to be gerrymandered into a white district. It's what they said, and that narrative has changed, and Republicans are always fighting against things like that. So this is the right thing for state of Texas. Rest of the country, they have to decide for themselves.
Breaking quorum is not illegal, as you know. There's nothing against the law on the books for that. But Texas Democrats could face some backlash with the House rules and the House of Representatives. What kind of punishment do you think the House should enact on these members who left?
Well, I think they should be removed from their vice chairmanships and chairmanships, and all of those perks that they've got, they don't deserve. That should have been stripped on the first day. Governor Abbott obviously is fighting in Supreme Court to remove some of these people. Take a look at Gene Wu, who openly was campaigning and saying, I am leaving state of Texas to go to Chicago. And he was fundraising on that. So you cannot fundraise on to do something that the law says you cannot accept any gift or anything valuable in response not to do any work or to do any work as a legislator, which is considered a bribery. So that's why Governor Abbott's going after him and 13 others with the Attorney General as well. So they're if they're not going to be able to work, they don't want to work, they should just resign and move on so we can have a special election and get some Republicans in there so who will go to work.
And to make sure I'm clear, the members of the legislature cannot fundraise during regular session. Can they fundraise during special session?
They can. So the fundraising moratorium does not apply in the special session, but fundraising or not fundraising for to do something or not to do something is illegal, and that's what they're doing. So that's why governor's up there in Supreme Court fighting that.
I want to ask you about a new rule that the Republican Party of Texas is considering. There's now a list of offenses that someone can be censured for, members of the party can be censured for. The party's executive committee finalizing that, to my knowledge, right now. And the Texas Tribune reports that this list of censurable offenses could keep some incumbents from being able to run for re-election next year, like Brad Buckley, the chair of the House Public Education Committee, who got school vouchers passed, and even House Speaker Dustin Burrows, who by all accounts has had a super conservative year so far in his first year with the gavel there. Is this the case?
That is not really true. The Texas Tribune usually doesn't write what the whole truth is. I mean, it's just what it is. And you know how I feel about media, but one of the things that I come on your show is because at least you ask right questions. Um, the issue that we currently have with media spinning this in the wrong way is they're saying we're kicking people off the ballot. Well, the Republican Party of Texas, that's not the intent. If some counties believe that the precinct chairs, the county chair, their executive committee believes that their representative is not representing them properly, they have the right to censure the members. That goes for every elected official.
Sure.
You could be a constable to, anyone who is elected as a Republican can be censured by the Republican Party if they're not doing their job. So our goal in the last weekend at the Capitol was to give all the information that we have to the grassroots to say, okay, these are some of the members who were on our side. We had 37 plus victories, which was amazing. We haven't seen that in a while, especially from Texas House. But we also want to tell the grassroots what are the other things, the wrong things that took place in during the session. And then they get to make that decision. The grassroots get to make that decision because it's their party. The party does not belong to any elected official, including me, but it belongs to the people of state of Texas who are Republicans, who comes to polling locations and say, I support this principle, I support this values. That's why I'm electing this person. So it comes down to the local parties and the precinct chairs, and we will have a meeting on October 11th at the Capitol to look through all the resolutions.
And as chairman, are you concerned at all that some county parties might censure a powerful incumbent and prevent them from running as a Republican next year?
No, not really. I mean, if someone wants to do that, it's their right. We will definitely look at it. There are rules in place to make that happen. The censure, it has to go through a certain set of process before it gets to us. And if it goes through all the process and get to the Republican Executive Committee at the state level, then we'll look at it, and it will come down to 64 members. So I really am not worried about someone is going to get censured or someone is not going to get censured. There is a process in place that put together by the grassroots at the last convention, about 10,000 people. That process, my job is to make sure that happens,
Okay.
and make sure that I follow the rules to get there. So I'm not putting my thumb on the scale either way. I mean, I'm just going to wait and see what the grassroots want me to do.
And to make sure I'm clear on the process, I'm going to kind of go fast forward on this, but let's say a county party censures someone, that person, can that incumbent appeal to the SREC, and the SREC makes a final decision on whether that person can be on the ballot or not? Is that roughly kind of how it works?
Yeah, the SREC makes the final decision on if that person gets on the ballot or not.
Okay.
The censures does not really mean that person is removed from the ballot right away. It could be just a slap on the wrist, or it could be supporting someone who is running against them. So there's multiple punishments. The nuclear option is the removing someone from the ballot, which again comes down to the county parties, the precinct chairs, then the SREC. So there's a lot of process in place before we get there.
And what are some of the censurable offenses that could get somebody removed from the ballot down the line in the process?
Well, it's if you go against the Republican Party principles, limited government, free market, and or our priorities. So our first priority this year was secure the border. Second one was secure our election. If someone decides that they don't want to do that, they're gonna act like a Democrat. Then our messages go run as a Democrat. If you're gonna be a Republican, act like a Republican when you get elected. If you're not going to be able to do that, go run as a Democrat or a independent, whatever you want. We're not
Yeah.
stopping you from running. We're just stopping you from running on the Republican ballot, which belongs to the party and the people.
And the October 11th meeting, is that when this will kind of get finalized, this new rule?
That is correct. The censure resolutions will be looked at on the October 11th meeting. The rule is finalized at the last convention.
It's been a year since we last had you on the program right after you got elected. How do you think the last year has gone?
It's been great. Party has raised plenty of money. We've been working on a lot of really good things. We're working on closing our primaries. We are working on getting 5 new districts or 5 districts flipped over to the Republican side.
Yeah.
We're looking at potentially our ask now is potentially redraw the maps on the Texas House because there's 22 coalition districts in Texas House. So there's some real hard things that are on the way from our side, and it's going to be interesting for the entire state of Texas.
And how soon, what's the process if the Republicans who run the state wanted to redraw the House of Representatives state map?
Governor just needs to make a call and call a special session, put that on the agenda, and they can do it.
Have you guys made any progress with closed primaries at all?
Well, not quite yet. We are working on a lawsuit. We should have something sometime this week. We're trying to work with our elected officials to see if we don't have to do that.
Yeah.
But if we have to, the SREC have and the officials have approved for a lawsuit against the state. So our law firm is working on that. They're working with all the stakeholders to figure out where we're going to go with that.
And will that be this week, you said, potentially?
In about next week or two, yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll keep an eye out for it. Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, it's always good to see you. I appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jason.